And so where it gets a little interesting is, and again, I think I'll circle back around to this, but the definition defined by state statute, which we can't change the definition, is an electric scooter that travels a maximum of 10 miles per hour. Comes with a bunch of other, but that's the important factor to remember. And so that brings us to the next question is how many of the low-speed electric scooters do we see operating in our community actually travel under 10 miles per hour? And I will tell you that the vast majority of them, and I don't have an exact percentage, but I'll throw out the 99% travel well over the speed of 10 miles per hour, which means by definition, they don't fit the state's definition of a low-speed electric scooter. Most of the ones you look at, even the lower end ones, they travel 12 miles per hour when they're fully charged. That's what they advertise them in. And so we still have to take that step and regulate the low speed. So you see before you today, the ordinance, which again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in some categories when you compare it to what we're going to present to the non-low speed electric scooters. But we really felt this was the best way for us in our community to regulate it. We can't change the age of 18 years, and we can't change this excess of speed limits on roads to 35. These are all set by the state, and we need to follow those rules if we're going to allow them. So we're recommending following the state rules, low speed electric scooters, and we're recommending that those low speed, the under 10 miles an hour, can be driven on our sidewalks, provided they yield the right of way to pedestrians, which would be police enforced if they didn't. Very similar to the use of a bicycle on a sidewalk, which is permitted. Alderman Glavin, I talked a little bit earlier today. It is a permitted use in the state of Illinois unless it's specifically signed otherwise, which we do not have. The only place that we regulate bicycle usage by ordinance and signage is the Riverwalk. So we felt that this was a good spot for low-speed electric scooters as well at this point. So then we move on to the non-low-speed electric scooters. Because the state of Illinois has no regulation on non-low-speed electric scooters, which we're saying go 11 miles per hour or greater, then as a home rule municipality, we have the right to regulate that use in our community for the best way we think the safe operation is. And so that's what's being presented before you tonight is an ordinance proposal that regulates that. And you'll see that most of the language is the same out of the state statute for consistency, but we are recommending that the age limit be lowered to what could potentially be 16, but specifically a valid driver's license. So if you will hold a valid driver's license, you can operate a non-low speed electric scooter as long as you follow these guidelines. But if you're under the age of 18, you also have to wear a helmet. These are the two restrictions, and we specify that those are not allowed on sidewalks. When you are on the roadway, you follow the rules of the road just as if you were a pedal bicycle, and that would be enforced obviously by the police as well. We picked the age of 16 specifically for what I mentioned to you earlier. It's the age where that driver's license, or I'm sorry, we picked the driver's license requirement because then we are confident that whoever's operating that device understands the rules of the road and the risk factors with it, and they understand what's expected of them. Unlike a 13-year-old who you might see whipping down a road on an electric scooter that has no idea what the rules of the road are, and they're putting themselves at risk, and quite frankly, they're putting the drivers in the community at risk. We've all been in that situation where even if it's just a normal pedal bike, the close call in our life, right? Where, oh my gosh, my A post got in the way, or if I wouldn't have turned in that split second because of somebody on a smaller operating device, you don't see them and your heart drops out because you almost hit them, and you didn't do anything wrong as the driver, you just didn't see them, right? And so by restricting that age and requiring a driver's license, we feel that's a good starting point for us as a community to say that we're not saying no to them, but we're saying we want responsible people that understand the rules of the road to operate them. And I'm available to answer any questions that anybody has moving forward. Thank you for my long-winded explanation.
Perfect. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion for 6A as presented. Go ahead.
Sure. I'll make a motion to authorize 6A as presented.
Thank you. Second?
There's no discussion.
We will. Alderman Cook?
No, I mean.
Oh, Alderman Bainey?
That's okay.
Alderman Massey?
I'll
Second.
make the second. Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, discussion by city council?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So the dirt bikes and the off-road motorcycles, they require driver's license. Am I hearing that correctly?
The dirt bikes and the off-road motorcycles are not prohibited, period, on public property in McHenry.
Okay.
They're not permitted.
So
Yeah, permitted, not permitted.
You said prohibited.
You said.
Not permitted.
It's prohibited.
Okay,
anyways.
all right. The ones where you're saying they have to be 16 years old, what are you calling that, the low speed?
The
Oh.
non-low speed.
The non-low speed. Okay, here's my question. In the event that you write a citation and they're under the age of 16, do you have to report this to the state, and will it affect their ability to get a driver's license when they're 16?
No,
Okay,
so local adjudication citation.
okay, that's my only question. Thank you. And thanks for putting this together.
Thanks.
Alderman Miller?
I actually have several questions. So I live in a non-sidewalk subdivision. Whipping by my house numerous times a day are what I would describe a skateboard with a motor, with no handlebars, no hold on to. I'm just on it more than 10 miles an hour. Where does that get defined?
That's defined in our current ordinance already.
Okay.
And let me see if I can't find that for you. Bear with me a second. I got multiple
So
documents
so
here.
as you're looking, my concern is it didn't fit in any of these descriptions as I read what we're presenting this evening. So I didn't know if it was regulated.
It's
or not.
regulated, is it on the roadway, it's not allowed on public. Motorized recreational vehicles are currently defined in our ordinance right now, if without any changes, as any device that has a deck, platform, or frame on which a person may stand or sit with two or more wheels, and that is completely self-propelled by a type of motor or engine, including gas or electric power. That's our ordinance right now. And so that scooter or skateboard you're referring to, that's powered, either solely powered by electric or solely powered by gas, is not permitted on public right-of-ways, roads, sidewalks, by our ordinance correctly right now.
So not that I'm going to rat out my neighborhood, but we clearly have a lot of those in my neighborhood. And if I had to guess on age of riders, but I'm not going to call them drivers. They're not driving. They're just, well, they're riding and leaning. And I haven't ridden a skateboard in 100 years.
We're not calling, we're not driving.
Okay, they're riding a device. So what happens? I guess I'm more concerned about what happens if there is an accident, because we don't see them. They whip down our hill at whatever speed they're going. People are entering and exiting their driveways, and I've watched them T-bone cars because you don't see them coming up and down our hills. Are citations given? What happens when there's an incident
Yes,
with underage
yes.
device
They're,
drivers?
they're issued a local ordinance citation for the violation of the ordinance, and they go to adjudication court.
And they can go there for the damage, or they can take them to court, just like they would any other damage.
Yeah. If they hit a vehicle, there's going to be an actual crash report that's taken, and then the insurance company gets involved and everything else. But on our end, from the law enforcement perspective, just as if we would write a ticket for failure to reduce speed to avoid an accident for a vehicle on a roadway that did something wrong, or improper turn or failure to yield, we would write this citation for operating that device illegally on the roadway.
So where in the ordinance, the other thing that goes by my house a lot, are the single wheel, the one big wheel that you stand on two wing-like pedals and you just kind of like, yeah, I don't know what that is.
Mhm. I don't know how we do it.
No, it's not a hoverboard, it's
It looks, it's a one wheel.
Yeah, that's
never
not
get on.
presented in tonight's ordinance for clarification. If council is interested in that, we
Well,
have
I
two
don't-
options.
I don't know what they are. And
Yep, I understand what you're talking about. They
Okay.
are a single wheel where you stand and balance on them. They're kind of in the hoverboard family.
Yeah.
They're
but they're
quite,
quick.
they're the wheel's very big because it has to be big. Otherwise you'd fall off at every bump you hit. And they're very expensive. We don't have an ordinance that identifies that. Now, there's two ways we could do that. If council wants that restricted, we could come back, or we could very easily modify the motion tonight to change the definition of motorized recreational vehicles to without two or more wheels, to one or more wheels. And that would then automatically fit based on the description of what we have as an ordinance.
So
If you would like those regulated.
I see quite a few of those in my neighborhood, the one-wheeled ones. I would, if we're going to do this and we're going to do it right, because everybody always tries to find their way around the ordinance. I would very much support the one-wheel adjustment because they're there. I mean, they're readily available in the marketplace. So why would we just want to limit this to 2 wheels or more when we have one-wheel options in the marketplace? But that's
You mean you
just-
want to permit it or prohibit it?
Pardon?
You want to permit those or prohibit those?
I think we want to add them to our ordinance if,
Which ordinance?
if we're going to,
Prohibiting them?
put-
He has an ordinance that prohibits the skateboard we just talked about.
on the street.
Yeah, you want to add it to that or add it to?
Yeah, they're prohibited everywhere on all city-owned property, parks, sidewalks, right-of-ways, streets. All these devices are currently right now not legal in McHenry. The one wheel you're discussing about would be quite frankly a loophole in our definition for our current ordinance.
Yeah,
So you would either add that, and then it would be banned.
I'm going to go to Russ next. Out of our 126 miles of roadway, we have 126 linear miles of roads in our community. And I apologize, I didn't call you today. I had a killer day. How many of those roadways have sidewalks? 50%? 40%? And my point is, if we pass something like this, much like we did with the golf cart ordinance, we have to think about who, where, how, and what. So if that's someone's means of transportation, and I was a young person once and didn't have a car, but I had a motor scooter, can they get to where they need to get to legally if we tell them this? And I don't know that answer.
Well, I guess from a percentage standpoint, I would say it's probably 55 to 60% that have sidewalks or at least contiguous sidewalks. There's plenty of sections of town where we have sidewalks that lead to nowhere. I mean, based on the ordinance, the way I understand it tonight, those devices, those skateboards are not permitted on the sidewalk either because they're not
Correct.
permitted in the right of way. So we're just including them in the existing ordinance and we're regulating them the same as any other motorized vehicle aside from the low speed scooters. Is that
Yeah, correct.
Accurate.
And I, just for clarification too, these one-wheel devices, we don't see a notable issue with them in our community. That's why they haven't been in the ordinance in the past. They're fairly new style devices. And they're expensive and they're not necessarily easy to ride. So although you may see a couple in your neighborhood, we don't see them regularly as
Right.
the main mode of transportation in our community. And so a lot of times, whether or not the council chooses to regulate a device once it rises to a level that it's worth regulating
Mhm.
for what that's worth. But again, I would have concerns over that on the roadway, just like I would any other of these motorized recreational devices. There's
Yeah,
a
and
reason.
your
when
point
we-
of they're harder to balance is correct.
Yeah.
So, if they hit a rock and we have rocks in our roads because I
Yep.
don't have, a sidewalk, I don't have a gutter. I've seen kids tumble off of them. My only concern and I get the safety essence of the ordinance, but my concern is obviously enforcement, which is your job, not my job. But if not there, where? And if we're saying they can't be on any streets, any sidewalks, any right of ways, if that's a means of transportation for these young people, where are they going to, how would they get to work if they're using that to go to work or to school? And I know that's facetious, but I did when I was young. What if they are? I don't know. I haven't interviewed them. So that's just my only concern.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Alderman Cook?
Probably not. Yeah.
Would it help if made an ordinance to, bright orange or the lime green vests or something like that?
It would be
highly
really, I'm not
reflective
even
stuff?
sure that that's something that we could regulate. We are regulating helmets if you're under the age of 18 on the non-low speed. But again, in the state of Illinois, when you're riding a motorcycle or a bicycle, the state doesn't regulate. I mean, it's common sense. You should wear some reflective clothing if you're going to be out on the roadway. And we'd love to see people wear helmets if they're 18 and older, but the state doesn't require it. So we really weren't trying to present an ordinance that we were going to further place additional restrictions on the residents unless council wants us that. And then we would have to go back and take a hard look at the legality of that too. I'd have to go back to our council and see if that's something that we would want to attack.
I know it would be a pain, but it would help a lot of drivers in the city of McHenry that all of a sudden you see a flash of orange go in front of you. Oh, wow, what was that? Something fast.
Again, I will say this, that there is regulations for lights and visible taillights on the e-scooters that are required. Because again, those are the only ones we're saying we're allowing on the roadway. And that's on the low speed and the high speed as well to help for visibility. And that's right out of the state statute.
Any other questions? Alderman Glad, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that you start reading all this and it really gets where you're back and forth because there's just so many different types of vehicles and whatnot out there. Following the state law, I understand and everything else. I think you've done a pretty good job of setting this up, and I think it's something that we need to start, and it can always be added on and changed later if there are issues or something else. The one thing that I had on concerns after we had our discussion, about an hour later, it hit me. We have motorized wheelchairs. Will
Yeah,
this affect that in any way?
No, ADA devices are basically not touchable. If you have a golf cart and that's your ADA device, you can drive it in McHenry and not even have to register it. Okay. That's a protected right. And so, ADA accessible devices are highly protected, and that would be, and I believe it's actually listed in there too, the exception.
But they're not restricted for the sidewalks.
Correct.
Okay,
Absolutely
okay.
not.
I just wanted to be sure that.
Yes, we want them on the sidewalk. They have the right of way over everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments by council? Open up for public comment. Sir? Can you hit the center button? Sorry.
That one?
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, Paul Lambert, 3530 Waukegan Road, Suite 303. With regard to the low-speed scooters, I think Chief Burke pretty much cleared up some of what I was questioning. However, as I walked the Riverwalk today, it kind of dawned on me that we're going to be allowing the low-speed scooters, but not on the Riverwalk, apparently, as I see someone was very proactive and put a bunch of new signs up, which is really cool. However, what I have run into on a couple occasions is people on vehicles that should not be on the Riverwalk coming into Miller Point Park by the roadway and then making their way to the Riverwalk. And as I was walking today, as it was, here came a off-road motorcycle, electric, through the parking lot, directly onto the Riverwalk, heading out under the bridges where I hope he didn't run over the fishermen that were there. So basically it falls into your bailiwick as far as the enforcement, but what do? You've got a place where these vehicles are allowed to come in.
No, they're not allowed anywhere. Those vehicles aren't, those
Well,
motorized dirt bikes.
I'm talking basically the low-speed scooters.
You referring to a scooter
Riverwalk
or
is-
the dirt bike?
Well, what I saw today as I was walking was basically an electric dirt bike.
Those are not allowed anywhere in town currently right now.
Well,
So
okay,
if they're on a road in the park, before they even get to the Riverwalk, they're in violation. And so
Okay.
we always encourage everybody, call a non-emergency number. We'll enforce that. We do enforce that. We get a
Okay.
lot of complaints for these usage. We had them cutting through the rec center and damaging property on our own property 3 weeks ago. So
I'm sure.
they disregard pretty much every rule of the road and they ride wherever they want. And that's why we have that existing ordinance in place. So we can
Okay.
enforce that.
But what I was really getting at is even the low-speed scooters, they're not allowed on the Riverwalk itself, but they are coming into the park where apparently they are allowed, and that's where the interface is.
Yeah, right
And-
now, e-scooters aren't allowed anywhere in town unless council takes action tonight.
Yeah, right.
And so even if they took action tonight, they would be limited on how they could get into, they can't be on state highways. So
Yeah.
there's really no, they could go down rivers, if they could get onto Riverside Drive, they could cross over
Yeah.
Illinois Route 120 onto Riverside Drive to get down to the tiny shops. But
Or
then-
sneak under the bridge on the.
But this ordinance covers the fact that they can't be on the Riverwalk, they can't be on the sidewalks. If passed tonight, they would have to legally park it in a parking spot or by a bike rack and then walk the Riverwalk.
Cool.
That would be the only acceptable way to use them, and they would have to have a driver's license to be on it to get there.
It covers it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Cook, go ahead.
Ward 6 is pretty much open, you know, we basically have no sidewalks around. These kids, I can't say fly around, but they have their electric scooters and stuff like that. So help me understand, they're not allowed to have any of them?
Yeah, currently, right now, the law is they're not allowed. And if we pass ordinances, again, the low speed ones, we can't lower that age to say it's okay for a 13-year-old to ride. It's because we're making it less restrictive, and our home rule authority does not allow us to do that. We do not have the legal authority to deviate from that age 18 on low speed electric scooters.
So all the kids in their neighborhood got to dodge and weave the policeman. Okay, no, I'm just,
They can
From
be
when
used
I
on
was
private
growing up in
property
Lakewood
all day
Park,
long,
so.
just so for the record. I mean, they're completely acceptable on private property.
okay, thank you.
Alderman Miller?
So I get the need and I get the desire. How do we educate the public on the do's and don'ts of any of this? And if there's no registration requirement, we don't know who owns them. So how do we educate the public that
Well,
you can't be on roads, sidewalks, or public property?
we have communication outreach programs between social media, our Nixle account. We could put flyers and we can attach notices to water bills. Whenever we update any ordinance that we feel is important to get to all of our residents, we have absolutely the ability to reach out and notify them. And we will do the same thing here. I'm sure that the Northwest Herald is going to run a great article on this as well, which is going to help us get our
Thank you,
message out
Janelle.
there as well. So.
Anyone else for public comment? Sir? Please state your name and address for public record.
Hans Herman, 3420 Waukegan Road, live in the Riverwalk townhomes. And our area, and I know the police, they do walk the area quite a bit, but there is an accident waiting to happen because we see it every day, the electric scooters, and they're way faster than 10 or 12 miles an hour. Some of the kids riding them are actually, their heads come to the top of the handlebars. And as they come whipping around the corner, somebody with a baby carriage, somebody walking a dog, or an elderly person with a cane is going to get wiped out or knocked into the river. Only a matter of time. And even at night, when things have calmed down, we can hear the clackety clack of the scooters as they come by, through the open windows. You can hear, and I know we're getting a new Riverwalk and boards are being replaced. And I don't think, and we have some of the electric bicycles with the very thick tires, and they go flying through the area also. We're safe up, but you can see everything happening. And I don't know if it's more signage, because I know there's a sign. We live in the unit next to the gazebo, and that's where people come whipping around onto the Riverwalk through the Riverwalk Residences parking lot onto the Riverwalk at a high speed. They can't see. They have no idea what's around the corner. So if there is a way to put signage, I think Naperville along their walk has big signs. We have little signs. Kids don't even know the signs are there. So our perception. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? All right. Any other discussion by city council? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Doherty.
Yes.
Alderwoman Massey.
Yes.
Alderwoman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Glad.
Yes.
Alderman Davis.
Yes.
Alderman Cook.
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is staff reports. Any staff reports this evening? Monty, what do you got?
I'd like to apologize for the online meeting tonight. So we used to host the online meeting through Zoom, and there were problems a lot. Sound wouldn't work, or there was all kinds of issues. So I tried to go with YouTube Live, which worked great last week, and it didn't work so great the first half of the meeting tonight. There was video, but no sound. I finally got it figured out, so now there's sounds going now. I think moving forward, I think I'm going to have it going good, but there was an issue tonight. I wanted to apologize to the council and everybody listening online. 8 more people hopped on. Everybody went to 0. And now there's 8 more people watching. So hopefully after tonight, we got the new system going. And I just wanted to thank everybody for bearing with me, and hopefully we'll be going better from now on.
Thanks,
So,
Monty.
Yep.
Any other staff reports?
I just had one clarifying question. It's not a staff report. Would council be interested in us bringing back just a real brief consent agenda amendment to go from 2 wheels to 1 wheel? That we discussed. We didn't really. No,
No, to
so
bring it
right.
back.
So this would stand in the next council meeting back. I would just throw one word change on the ordinance on the consent agenda. If council, the straw poll is they're interested in restricting those 1-wheel devices under our umbrella.
Is the majority of council? Show of hands.
So I brought it up.
Up, and I think if we're going to put an ordinance in place, which there was consensus to do that we need to look at all of the possibilities. And I do see more of the 1-wheel, and I looked it up. It's called a electric unicycle, an EUC, because it only has 1 wheel and it's like the hoverboard thing. I would like to see that on there.
Thank you. Any others? Alderman Bainey?
I have to agree with Alderwoman Miller. I don't like loopholes, so
I
it was.
don't either. That's why
Yeah,
I'm
it would
asking.
seem to me that if we're gonna pass this and everyone's in agreement, that we would
Okay,
cover.
I would complicate this one more level. Is there a way to withdraw this motion and just amend it to where it says the presented amendment, except for the definition under motorized recreational vehicles to
And
change?
those would be prohibited.
Right.
You would
just
add it to
all,
the,
all we're doing is changing the current definition from where it defines motorized recreational vehicles, where it says 2 or more wheels, to 1 or more wheels. That's all we need to do.
Would we reconsider it since we're still in the same?
that's what I was just gonna say that, but you know me, I mean, if it's, so long as everybody is going the same direction, we can do anything we want because we're the king. We're the city council, it's your law, and you can control the
Otherwise,
procedure.
I'll bring it back as a 1-word amendment.
Yeah.
I think it's sense.
So if you- reconsideration at the same meeting is exactly how it should be used. Rarely does it ever happen at the same meeting. It's usually the next one, and I have to say no because parliamentary rules say so and so. So in this case, that would be a great move to make.
Alderman Glad.
Reconsideration can be called by any of those that voted for the majority, which I think we all voted for. So
All right.
therefore, I'll make a motion to reconsider it.
Second.
Yeah, let's do that in 2 motions. One is the motion to reconsider it, and then we'll follow it up.
And a second by Alderwoman Miller. Okay. All right, perfect. And then roll call on that.
Okay, so Alderman Glad,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller, yes, Alderman Cook,
Yes.
Alderman Davis,
Yes.
Alderwoman Massey.
Yes.
Alderman Doherty.
Yes.
Alderwoman Bailey.
Yes.
So the first motion will stand, and then the second one is to amend that, just gonna be 1 wheels. 1 wheel.
Yeah, so long as your minutes reflect exactly what you just said. Otherwise, I would have done it a little differently, but that works.
So then do we have to make a new motion?
Yeah.
All right. So
Same motion, except, but add the
the one
verbiage.
or more wheels versus the 2 or more, right?
So it's a motion to adopt the proposed ordinance in item 6A with the modification to the definition of
with the modification to the definition section of motorized recreational device to include 1 or more wheels, omitting the word 2 or more wheels.
So I need a motion for that. A motion? Alderwoman
we
Miller?
did that the first time to reconsider.
Second? Alderwoman
Just
Bainey?
Leave that motion there.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderwoman Bailey.
Yes.
Alderman Glad,
Yes.
Alderman Doherty.
Yes.
Alderwoman Massey.
Yes.
Alderman Davis,
Yes.
Alderman Cook.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Chief Burke.
Thanks, Chief. Any other staff reports? All right. Mayor's report, obviously tonight was mentioned a few times about the Travis Mills Foundation. I would ask that any council members, if there's a developer or someone interested in the city of McHenry, to approach staff. Every council member should be aware of the processes that we have. We send out reports to council on developers that we meet with. And I think it's crucial that we follow that process every step of the way so we don't look like idiots in public. This is not the way the city of McHenry does business. Talking to this foundation, had no idea that he wasn't talking to the right people, had no idea that the city did not know about it. And I think that's unacceptable. And for a couple council members to show up at a private party with the developer and have discussions, and it just isn't right. So the majority of council also agreed with me on this. So I asked at this point, if there's any developers that approach you, to please reach out to staff and have them reach out to staff to have a discussion. And then we can certainly put it on the agenda. But this was a kind of a backdoor deal, to be honest, and I don't appreciate that. So that's all I got to say this evening. And city council comments. Alderman Bain.
I would like to use this opportunity to ask our attorney if he would clarify the Open Meetings Act as it applies to this situation where we have council members discussing city business together in a meeting without all of council being aware.
Well, hopefully everybody knows the rules, but you all know a majority of a quorum. So it's a majority of all of you elected tonight, sitting here tonight, cannot be gathered and discuss public business in any regard. So if you gather in an auditorium and you're listening to a lecture, that's one thing. But if you're gathering and discussing any aspect of public business, which would be this, in this case, potential development of property, then a majority of a quorum, being 3 of the city council anyway, or a committee for that matter, but mainly the city council, cannot do that without violating the act. It's real simple. You just have to not be gathered and discuss public business. It's prohibited.
Alderman Glad.
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions about apartments versus condos and home ownership and everything else. And I just think that to some extent, I think I'd like to see staff research this a little bit more for us and maybe bring it back for discussion item. Years back, there was a development that was built with 4-unit condos. Before I moved in, one of the buildings was not built because of a problem with a foundation. After the subdivision was finished, the neighborhood got to the city and the city got to the developer. They rebuilt that one. They fixed the foundation, built it just like the other 4-unit buildings, and they took and registered it as an apartment complex and or apartment building and rented them out. And they were paying about 2/3 of what the building next door collectively were paying. So consequently, home ownership is paying a lot more property tax than apartments. Now that was one example. So I took today and I looked up Garden Quarters, which is right next to North Fox Condominiums. They were both basically built in the same era within a year or two of each other. If you take a look at what the apartments come up with, $1,078,000 as far as the EAV for 80 units. So I took the average of the condos, which is basically they're all about the exact same, and I multiplied it by 80 instead of the 96 that are there. And the 80 comes out to 2,160,000, double the EAV than what the apartments are. So if we're going to be looking at trying to create development that will add income to our tip, maybe we need to look at it a second time as far as building condos and townhouses and owner-owned property, that there is more property tax collected than rentals would be. Just wanted to bring that up.
Any other city council comments? Alderman Miller?
I was excited to see the first annual Riverwalk Chalk Walk in our packet. I thought that was kind of an interesting, cool thing. And of course, I didn't know what a chalk walk was. So I went out and did some research, and it's going to kind of be a cool thing. So I immediately volunteered to be a judge, and I'm looking forward. What are you laughing
No,
at?
I think it's great.
Um,
Love it.
I think it's going to be kind of cool. I also went over to the Riverwalk, and there are 75 squares that could be used for the chalk walk. So for any artists out there that want to display their talent, register early, because I think they're going to sell out the squares.
It's awesome. Thanks for volunteering. It's awesome.
Of course.
Alderman Cook?
I noticed that in the packet that the beach is closed now, Peterson Park Beach. I know there are probably no lifeguards or anything, but can't people just swim at their own risk? We're talking the hottest month of the year, you know, and I was just wondering why not?
Chief?
Only because Director Hobson had shared this with us at our director meeting. I'm not sure if it was in the meeting notes, but obviously the lifeguard pool goes down because the summer help goes back to college. And so that's why they had to shift. Their primary focus is maintaining the lifeguards at Knox Park Pool to make sure that that pool can maintain peak hours while it's colder or warmer. I'm sorry.
So what about swimming at your own risk? Because he's going to.
You're right. Can't
I
you
don't-
swim at your own risk?
I don't have the answer for that. That
I
would
don't
be
either.
definitely a Bill question. I'm not sure that.
David, you got anything?
Could I make a comment before the attorney makes his legal?
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's the fact that the city of McHenry owns about 90% of that lake, but they do not own the entire lake. There's a portion that's owned by McCollum Lake itself, and there's also a portion that's made by West Shore Beach. So if we were going to restrict that as far as swimming, I tend to wonder if we would have to work with the others to create anything as far as a restriction of swimming on your own risk.
Well, if they swim within the city's jurisdiction of that lake, whatever that is, and we don't prohibit it, then why wouldn't it be permitted? Of course it's permitted. And of course it's at your own risk. You don't even need to post a sign. It is what it is. That doesn't mean the city's not going to get sued. I'm just saying, if you don't regulate it, then it's permitted, just like the loophole of the single wheel thing. So if you want to regulate that in some regard, either to how, in whatever fashion, you should do so. I don't know if it's regulated or not.
So if I wanted to sneak over to Peterson Park, go swimming in there, would I get?
Yeah, you don't need to sneak.
Why don't we do this? We'll reach out to Director Hobson and we'll get you an answer sent in an email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll get you an answer. We'll
Let's see if
send an
there's a
email.
restriction.
Yeah, I was
Right.
just wondering, you know.
It's probably covered, my guess is.
Any other city council comments?
I have a comment.
Yep.
I want to volunteer for Alderwoman Miller.
Okay.
So if you guys have
Sue's
any
got a
comments,
contact.
please let me know.
Sue has a contact.
Okay.
That's awesome. All right. Any other city council comments? All right. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Cook,
Make a motion to adjourn.
second. Alderman Benny,
I'll second that.
thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Cook,
Yes.
Alderwoman Keating,
Yes.
Alderman Glad,
Yes.
Alderman Fleury,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Alderman Vader,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.